there is a certain amount of radiation that is considered the FCC limit. But that limit is sort of dictated by having the phone about an inch away from your head. If you move it closer to your head, they say they can no longer guarantee that your phone isn't emitting more radiation than the FCC limit, which is just stunning to me. So, your phone is not always giving off the same amount of radiation. If you have a poor signal, if you're having a hard time hearing the person, in fact, your phone is trying to compensate for that. Your phone is doing, trying to give you a better signal, and in the process of doing that, it is emitting even perhaps more radiation.
If you've ever put a cell phone to your ear, you should listen to what neurosurgeon Dr. Keith Black has to say.
There's no way to say that cell phone use is safe. I think that the public has a right to know that there could be a potential risk. The public generally assumes that if one is selling something on the market, that we have had assurances that that device is safe.
To be clear, Dr. Black's message is at odds with headlines from the largest international study on cell phones and cancer. Their conclusion, little or no evidence cell phones are associated with brain tumors. But if you look just one layer deeper into the appendix of that same study, and you'll see something unsettling. Turns out participants in the study who used a cell phone for 10 years or more had doubled the rate of brain glioma, a type of tumor. The FCC requires all cell phones emit below 1.6 watts per kilogram of radiation.
And inside over here, very important, this bubbly liquid inside, that's what represents liquid brain. What's going to happen is the phone is making a call. After a period of time, this device is going to come over here and start to measure radiation at all sorts of different points in the brain. After that, they're going to take all of those numbers, basically put it on a computer screen, and tell us where the hot spots are and just how high the levels got. The cell manufacturers themselves actually advise against putting the cell phone right next to your head or really anywhere in your body. Take a look, for example, with the iPhone 4. The safety instructions specifically say when using the iPhone near your body for voice calls, keep it at least 15 millimeters or 5/8 of an inch away from your body.
And the European Environmental Agency has pushed for more studies, saying cell phones could be as big a public health risk as smoking, asbestos, and leaded gasoline.
GMD talking about cell phone safety. There's been a lot of studies on this. The most recent study on cell phones is by researchers at the National Institutes of Health. Now, they found something very interesting, that the radiation emitted from your cell phone increased brain cell activity after about 50 minutes of talk time. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. These are natural scans of the brains looking at what is known as glucose metabolism, brain activity. It's one way of measuring it. This is with the cell phone on. Look how much yellow is in this area around the brain. Compare it to when the cell phone is off. Very little yellow, comparatively speaking. This is one of the first studies to actually show that there is an impact from using cell phones actually on the brain. And then there are people like Deborah Davis, a physician, a researcher, former White House senior health advisor, who founded a group called Environmental Health Trust. Now, she studied the issues with cell phones for decades, in particular the amount of radiation they give off and what your body might absorb. She's trying to connect those dots.
But the question is, what's the cumulative impact of this kind of exposure? How do we evaluate it? And this is a modeled microwave radiation dose of a 6-year-old with greater levels to the frontal and temporal lobes, eyes and cheek. And watch this here. Now, yellow, white, and red are the hottest, all right? And if you look carefully, you will see it's going into the eye, the nose. Do it again, just so you'll get to see it. And partly into the brainstem. I'm going to show you something that might be of interest to students and faculty here. And that has to do with exposure to the reproductive organs. We call them the gonads. I think you say the testicles. And bone marrow. And look here at the radiation as it gets into the groin area. And that's just from having a mobile phone modeled into the pocket. And this, again, is based on a normalized SAR with I think we had a dipole antenna. Now, the breast. Because we are seeing women who keep cell phones in their bras. Has anyone seen a woman put a cell phone in her bra? Hands up, please. Please tell them you've heard now why they shouldn't do that. And here I want to show you our first case report from 2009, and we now have many more. This was a Chinese-American woman, a Chinese-American woman who used her cell phone 4 hours a day in her bra for 10 years while she was driving to another. Now, and there it was right next to her chest, and the tumors that developed right under the antenna of the phone.